Welcome back, Hugh Hewitt. We know that when Speaker Pelosi gets in the room where it happened, she has a huge agenda item for the next COVID relief bill. She wants cash for cannabis. I'm joined by Representative Mike Waltz of Florida's 6th Congressional District. Congressman Waltz, welcome back. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Hey, thanks so much, Hugh. That's a great lead-in because that's exactly what happened.
They want cash for. We're going to come back for that, but I got to ask you for. You're a Green Beret, decorated combat veteran, all that good stuff. Well, it looks like Mike Garcia, who's a Super Hornet pilot, F-18 pilot, is going to win in California. So finally, you'll have some air cover in Congress.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And Lord knows we need reinforcements. And we haven't been able to verify it, but his squadron was over supporting us in Afghanistan. I called several F-18s in for close air support. Wouldn't that be incredible if we could figure out that he was overhead on the forehead?
Well, I talked to him yesterday. His call sign was Paunch, so you're going to have to go back and find out if Paunch was in the skies above you. But it looks like he's joining you. That means you'll have Gallagher, a Marine. You're a Green Beret. We got a Navy pilot, so we got. I'm sure there's some Swabbies as well, some swells. But are there any Air Force people in Congress at all?
Yeah, there actually is. There's a retired one-star by the name of Don Bacon out of Nebraska. He's a great member. But, you know, he's fantastic. Look, I never make Air Force jokes. They saved my life on multiple occasions. But I'll give the Marines and the Navy a hard time.
Well, I mean, a Marine intel officer, you ask Gallagher what that means. It means you're a Packers fan. Look, Congressman, let's get to this. Let's get to this bill that Nancy Pelosi entered. They really did. They put in the relief bill cash for cannabis. I talked to Robert Costa about it. He's trying to keep a straight face. But that is, you know, Mitch McConnell has one priority, which is getting businesses to reopen free of plaintiffs' lawyers picking over their bones. And she wants a bailout for marijuana businesses.
Yeah, well, she just wants I think we're running out of green ink in Washington, D.C., as much money as we're printing. And here's the thing, Hugh. They're not done. Even if she got this through, she won't. The Senate will stop it, thank God. But she's already telling the most progressive members that it's okay. We didn't get everything in this one. There'll be another one this summer. So she's getting beat up from her left that this wasn't big enough. And I think, you know, this is the agenda. They're laying it all out. This is what we have to decide this November. But look, I think, and I know you agree with us, we face two existential threats for this country. One is an America led by socialists, and two is a world led by Chinese communists. And this is the fight of, I think, the rest of our adult lives. Well,
they gave us a gift yesterday in the first fight because they gave us the gift of transparency. It's a $3 trillion throwaway. I mean, if you know what the other side wants, you have a huge advantage. And I would just pin that on every Democrat running. They want $3 trillion in bogus stuff instead of focusing on getting businesses reopened like McConnell and the Senate is doing. And I know you guys would do if you had the majority, you would be focused on getting businesses reopened safely. But it's going to – do you have an opponent yet in Florida's 6th, Congressman Waltz?
I do. Alan Grayson, if you're a former Democratic member who was, I think AOC before she was cool.
Oh, no. AOC is not nuts. She's crazy, but she's not nuts. Alan Grayson is back?
He's back. He's coming after my seat. So buckle your seatbelt.
He is independently wealthy, isn't he?
Supposedly. I don't know. I don't believe much of what's coming out of that side of things.
Oh, wow. I've never been to Port Orange, Florida. I was looking at your district this morning. I always do a little research on every member who comes on. I've never been to Port Orange. What is Port Orange like?
Well, it's really almost a suburb of Daytona. It's beautiful. It's right, you have the ocean right there. But the kind of the feel of things is a southern little town. So come on down. We had just a few months ago, we had the president at the Daytona 500 with the Beast taking a lap on the track, and I hope we can get back there.
Tell me a little bit about how reopening is going in Daytona and in your district.
People are really eager. We have fortunately been spared. People think of Florida and they think, if they haven't been there, they think it's all South Beach, Miami. But, in Northeast Florida, Central Florida, you get a few miles off the beach and you're in jeans and boots and pickup truck. with a lot of agriculture, and it's much more rural. It has much more of kind of a southern feel, and we have been spared a lot of the worst of this virus, and people are ready to get back to work.
All right, let's talk now about China, because I have Richard Haass coming up next hour. And we're going to disagree about China, because I think we're in Cold War 2.0. And I
agree.
I cut my teeth with Richard Nixon at the age of 22. Call the world as it exists, not as you want it to be, but as it is. And the way it is right now is that General Secretary Xi is opposed to it. I mean, he's our enemy.
Well, look, this is, from with all due respect to Richard and others who have believed for the longest time that capitalism would change China, that our openness we should lead with our chin in the boxing ring, and they'll be nice and they'll play along. And that thinking absolutely has to change. The Chinese explicitly, it's in Xi's speeches, it's in his leaders' speeches, that they seek to dominate us economically by stealing our technology, and then that will make the military domination almost a fait accompli. And I think the best analogy is essentially how the United Kingdom at post-World War II just slid aside. It was just kind of accepted that the United States was the new global leader, and that's what the Chinese, people are talking about a military conflict. In Chinese thinking and military strategy, if it comes to a military conflict, they've failed.
Yeah.
They want us to essentially slide aside, and if we keep spending ourselves into oblivion, like Pelosi wants us to do, they're playing right into their hands. The other thing, we cannot underestimate their misinformation campaign. It is happening in our think tanks, like Richard's. It's happening at our local and state officials. One of my other Democratic opponents just called me a racist because I introduced a bill to stop our technology theft in our universities, with 400,000 Chinese students coming here per year. Doesn't make them bad kids. They are forced by their government to vacuum up everything they see, from robotics to AI. And then also calling out these professors. 2 more were just arrested from Emory University and University of Arkansas, pocketing $500,000, $500,000 a year from the Wuhan Institute of Technology. At the same time, they're accepting tens of millions of dollars in DoD and NIH, Defense Department research funding. This has to stop, and we're going to stop it with this new China task force that we just set up in the House.
Now, Congressman, I talked to Senator Cotton yesterday. I assured him that no Chinese money was used in the production of this show. But we joke a little bit, but I am very serious. I think DOJ ought to offer an amnesty to every professor who is compromised, because obviously Harvard's had it, Emory has it, University of Arkansas has it. What's been done 3 times has been done 30 times or 300 times or 3,000 times. We're not talking about a small problem. If you find Harvard, Emory, and University of Arkansas professors on the take from the PRC, there are more.
It's the tip of the iceberg. It really is the tip of the iceberg. But the other thing, and the good news, is the president, I talked to him a few weeks ago, our federal pension plan that was on the verge of sending hundreds of billions of dollars into Beijing Stock Exchange. The president is moving to put a stop to it in the short term to replace those board members. This is our U.S. military 401k plan that was going right into Beijing Stock Exchange. But here's the next step. We have over 20 state pensions that are sending hundreds of billions into China as well, right into the state-owned enterprises that are rebuilding their military. So stopping the capital flow from the United States into Beijing, shifting our manufacturing, either onshoring it or nearshoring it. I think India is a great option, second to the United States. And then stopping this, the massive leakage of our technology are, I think, 3 huge initiatives that'll make a difference.
Now, Congressman, the Stealth War by Richard Spalding is a pretty hardcore book. In it, he raises the problem of money in think tanks, and he suggests that some think tanks are totally compromised. I've not heard that leveled against the Council on Foreign Relations or AEI, but do you have a list? I mean, I don't want to go McCarthyism here, but do you know of any particular think tank that is compromised by PRC CCP money?
No, I think they're much more clever. They're much more clever than how they're distributing their money. So I don't want to call one out, but we are looking into it, and we're also looking into the universities in violation of DOE, Department of Education rules, and the law are not declaring how much foreign money they're receiving. And so that is another piece in addition to the think tanks. We're looking at the universities as well.
All right, last question.
It is all over.
It's huge. It's a big problem. Armed Services Committee, you are an Army guy. You're a Ranger, a Green Beret. I think that the Department of Defense is going to have to move significant money from ground, land forces into naval forces, cyber, and space. The big Army's not going to like that, Michael Waltz. What do you think about it?
Well, I think the Army certainly, not to sound defensive for the Army, but I agree with you. I think my problem with the Navy is that they have a 30-year shipbuilding plan they like to change every 6 months.
That's true.
Right? I mean, it's just ridiculous, and I think they deserve the hard time they're getting from the Congress right now. But you're right. What I think this virus is proving that many of us have known is that geography matters a lot less when we have space, cyber, and other ways our adversaries can get into the United States. And that's where the next wars are going to play out. It's on the economic, technological, cyber, and space warfare. That's why the Space Force is so important. I'm also on the Space Committee going forward.
Michael Waltz, always a pleasure to talk to you, Congressman. I will look for you in Port Orange soon. Thanks for joining me. Don't go anywhere, America.